Okay, Toilet Bound Hanako-kun. That was a good ending. It really was. Like, obviously, I wanted season two, but that was a great way to wrap up this season, I have to say. And I could be mistaken, but I believe this little, like, mini arc, the whole, like, mermaid princess, I think that was supposed to come before the last couple of arcs. I could be totally mistaken, which wouldn't be the first time. But if that is the case, I thought the reintroduction, or if this was just how it was always supposed to be, was a great stopping point for the anime. I mean, it really does tie together with the whole, like, Cohen confusion of what he wants to do, because he kind of was, like, raised up to hunt apparitions, and now he's pretty much starting to become friends with one, and his friend just completely forgot who he is, so he's kind of like an emotional wreck. And, like, where are we going to go with, like, Hanako and Yashiro when they still have a long, long way to go, especially because he has a lot of secrets that really haven't been explored. Like, even just, like, hearing from, like, the sidelines that you have this brother, apparently. It's like, but until, like, he says, yeah, that's my brother, why aren't you saying that? Like, why aren't you confirming that? What's happened? Why did you kill someone in your past, right? So there's still, like, all these conflicting feelings, but didn't probably think you were getting any sort of, like, you know, resolution to their relationship this season. And though it wasn't a resolution, the stopping point of, at the very least, Hanako saying, I had a younger brother, and I killed him. If you stick with me, someday I'll tell you it all. And they kind of make that pinky promise. That's a great way to leave it off on a satisfying note, showing that there definitely has been progression and they definitely will explore more in the future, just given enough time. But I think the most important thing coming out of episode 12 is the thing that we have to remember going forward in this series. You got to leave Yashiro's legs alone. She cannot catch a break. Even fish are insulting apparently these fat legs of hers. Her legs are fine. Leave her alone, you goddamn critters. It's just like, this show just does not hold back on this girl. It's funny, but at the same time, you just think, what is wrong with these characters? They are absolute lunatics. For real though, I definitely enjoyed my time with Toy Bound Hanako-kun. It's clear as day. I've been excited to review this every single week, and even when there's been either people who have said they didn't like the episode, or they just didn't like how they adapted it. For me, as someone with no experience with the mangas, I'm just really not a manga guy. I prefer the anime medium. I've had a blast, and I felt like there's been this really good emotional high point. And as simple as the idea is of pretty much going back to where it all started, the whole idea that she does have a mermaid scale, basically, and how, you know, her species is pretty much coming to get her, and is kind of like flaunting a male harem in her face, it's pretty adorable to see what they're doing. And it is an interesting question, because even if this was like an arc that was supposed to come at episode 6, or it was always supposed to come here, it's an interesting thing to just kind of think about and ponder, because with how much they have developed, with how much they've made this connection, there still is a lot of uncertainty of, like, why is there so many secrets being kept? Even if you're a ghost, even though you've clearly died way younger than you should have, why is there secrets with seemingly a very genuine relationship being formed? But everyone has their demons. Some will have more than others, and if the backstory is really as dark as Hanako is making it, or maybe it's not even as twisted, but for him it's just an emotional trauma, it doesn't matter, because that's gonna probably take many, many years for him to truly open up and feel comfortable, because he's probably not comfortable with it himself, let alone let someone he actually cherishes in on his secrets, which will probably push her away from his point of view, but knowing Yasha would probably just make her want to hug him. It's interesting how you bring up the question of, hey, abandon this shitty life where you're constantly getting mocked, you have your hair turned into like Eiffel Towers and people are just laughing at you, and come be a princess. And I like how there's certain characters being like, oh yeah, sure, I mean, you don't have any qualifications and pretty much they're saying you're gonna be royalty, why not take it? It's nice how all the characters kind of like came together more or less, some still kind of like sulking and kind of considering what to do with their own personal problems. But it was great how they kind of like structured it overall, where it felt like a very natural flow that kind of went beat by beat, going over everything we've experienced in this season, to give it to a point where she just is like, yeah, I'm not going. Because why would she, right? Random characters, it's a little too good to be true, and seemingly was, because her harem was going to be literal fish. No mermaid, no hybrid of human and fish, it's pure on goldfish, basically. Like, that's her future, right? But of course, it wasn't gonna end there. I like how instead of, like, fighting, it was literally just a fish net and just scooping. The show is so wild with some of its ways of dealing with obstacles, but it's pretty great to see the conclusion there, like the true on like them talking, because I love with Hanako, because we have everyone's perspectives for the most part. Of course, we don't see everything, we don't see all the internal demons to someone like Hanako, but at the same time, we still see a lot of things that Yashiro doesn't. And we know Hanako does care for her. He's twisted, he's a troll, he's a prankster, and he clearly has some pretty dark demons in his closet. But he's not a completely bad person. I mean, if anything, we can look at the brother and how he's so childish that he doesn't see what he's doing as wrong. Like, there's clearly a difference. You don't feel like she's in true danger if she's with Hanako, but you completely feel that with his brother. So it's a completely different playing field, but if you do feel like your friend is not opening up to you and you're clearly developing a crush on him, if not, some more stronger romantic feelings, it's understandable why there would be this kind of like pulling away. And I'm glad rather than just saying, okay, I'm gonna spill my heart out, I'm gonna show you everything, we're not at that point yet. You are a really important person to me, I really do cherish you, but someday I'll tell you, but for now, this is what I'm gonna say. I had a younger brother, and I killed him. If you want to stick around, maybe I'll show you more in the future. It's a very simple thing, and some people may want to write that off as being like, oh, I mean, we've already kind of known that, but we've never heard Hanako say that to her face. Like, full on, we've heard brother, we've heard killing, but we've never had that jointed together where she can just say, holy shit. Like, you can piece it together yourself, looking at the brother. I feel like there's gotta be some sort of like, he felt endangered for his life and he killed him accidentally, maybe on purpose. Like, it could just be something so simple that he blames him for his death when it really wasn't. There's a lot of ways that they can take it, but to hear him finally say that, but not have this like super dark and gloomy atmosphere surrounding, but rather a more hopeful and optimistic that maybe he truly will have a shoulder to cry on, it's going to be interesting because there's moments in this episode where she's worrying about so many different things where Hanako's like, I was worried too. I was lonely. Weren't you lonely without me? It's interesting how they're definitely exploring this relationship rather than the cliche route of she's the damsel in distress and you have this like abusive boyfriend or something like that. Rather, he's a prankster, he's a troll, and he does keep his secrets, but you can definitely feel a genuine relationship forming, whether that's going to stay full-on friendship, if not romantic, whenever the manga decides to wrap up the story. Still, to me, it feels like watching these characters talk, whether it's them simply in a classroom, them like on a rooftop or in the schoolyard, no matter what they say or do, it just feels like you're interested in hearing it, and as simple as some of their drama may be, it's something that feels relatable both for a high school student and someone who literally died far too early in their life. And that's what makes this show, among a lot of aspects, really, really solid to me. I've always loved the motion manga design when they go simplistic and kind of have manga panels, and when they want to go super dramatic with like either action or just really romantic scenery. They do a great job, but just the anime on a static level, just looking at anything. Backgrounds are colorful and vibrant, and the character models are just so cute. Like, I love how adorable the character models are, which honestly is one of the biggest reasons the transition from dark and serious to sweet and adorable happens so seamlessly, because literally, you just look at such monstrous forms and you can easily switch that over to an adorable version because the art style that they use for their character designs lends itself to be so just elegant in that transition. It's really, really adorable. It's one of my favorite art styles and favorite character designs of this anime season, and it honestly feels good to see how they wrapped it up. It feels satisfying. We're still have a lot to go. They have the whole like punchline of like releasing this monstrous thing on the school. Of course you have that. But it's nice to go out feeling like there's a hopeful tomorrow. Is there going to be struggle? Sure, but there's a hopeful tomorrow. And I know I haven't mentioned it in a long time, but that radio effect they use for the voices for the rumors is so good. Like, honestly, I can't be the only one who's enjoyed every time they've basically discussed a rumor. You just hear the static, you hear radio, you hear that eerie voice where it's not super demonic, it's not super lighthearted, it's just this like monotone voice. That always got me in the mood for the rumor. Like, it's a simple design and they easily didn't have to go that route and it would have still been good enough for the atmosphere. But honestly, out of everything with the sound production, that is my absolute favorite point, is just hearing the radio, you know what you're getting into. Yep, we're getting into a rumor. We're gonna hear this super creepy, super demonic, just, oh my god, this is straight from a horror show. And it never like fully goes, we're trying to give you jump scares, but it keeps you on the edge of your toes where you want to see the rumor, but you also kind of want to run away, which is kind of a great representation in contrast to exactly what Yashiro feels with Hanako. She wants to pursue it, but also kind of wants to run away for a fish harem from time to time. The show's just so good on a production level. A lot of people kind of ripped into just like, they would say like the lack of movement or things like that. But this anime moves no little than pretty much any anime out there. Anime isn't a medium that moves all that much in comparison to most animation mediums. That's kind of the appeal, is that there is a lot of static and then simple movements, and then you get those high Sakuga moments. And yeah, coronavirus and things like that will always like limit more, but honestly, the show looked great from my point of view. I've been watching anime for many, many years, and there's so many old school anime that move way less than what I saw with Toilet Bound Hanako-kun, with way less of an appealing art style. So I love the production, at least from my point of view, but of course that's just my opinions anyway. I loved watching this show. It was an exceptional ride, one of my favorites of the winter 2020 season, and I hope to see a season 2 in the future, but if for whatever reason they just leave us off on this, it is good to see. It's more of a resolution that I thought we were going to get, but still having me craving more. But as always, let me know your thoughts and opinions on Toilet Bound Hanako-kun down in the comment section below. Do you love it, you hate, your favorite moment, whatever you feel, do let me know. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it, and remember to hit that subscribe button if you happen to be new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.